Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am of course DoodleMan149 and welcome to the 7th Doodle Chat of 2026. In case you don't know what these are just little off-the-cuff videos about various topics that I find interesting or worth talking about. I have a whole list of these that I got 52 of these for this year because I plan on doing one of these every single week, and so far I've stuck to it. But if there's something you guys want me to talk about, just let me know in the comments and I can definitely get to chatting about whatever the heck you want me to talk about. However, since I have not yet received, I don't really think that many comments on these videos in general, but definitely no suggestions for another one of these, I'll just continue on down my list, which is kind of a strange one, because this one I have written down, talk about how home changes once you left, which is kind of an odd topic. It's a little personal, I guess, but I really don't think there's too much I could really divulge that would be bad or anything. But this is more so focused on your childhood home. Like, say you moved out of it when you were a kid with your parents, and you come back to it when, when you're an adult. And just see how it changed if you happen to be in the same area. I know I see this sometimes in movies, but I don't know how many people actually do this in, real life. But for the specifics of this, it's more so how home has changed for me, meaning the home that I had with my parents, since I moved out, away from them. They still live in the same house that I grew up in. I know that wasn't really their intention. They've always told me they plan to move back to New Jersey after 9 or something years, but that was also 26 years before I was born, so they are still there. So I guess I could start out by describing kind of how my house looked, as I was a kid. You came in the front door, which we rarely used because that was more for guests, and we're not guests in our own home, so we'd always came in the back door. But the front door, you came in, you had a living room there. On your left was a coat closet, which I can't for the life of me ever remembering actually putting a coat into. It was more just coats that never moved and board games on top that never got played. Just next to that on your left was our big TV. I shouldn't say big, it was a bigger entertainment center with an average-sized TV in it. And this entertainment center held a whole bunch of stuff. It held a whole bunch of old VHSs, a whole bunch of 8-tracks in this little drawer beneath where the TV was. And the TV itself changed over the years. As technology got better, things just got different. To the right, there was a variety of furniture configurations we would do. We'd change it up every so often. But then in the far right corner, there was a fish tank, which it is still there. And next to that was this big artificial fireplace, which I remember moving in with my father when I was, 11? This thing's heavy as shit. We had to get in the back of my dad's pickup, back the pickup onto the lawn to where the bed of the truck kind of lined up with our front porch. We had to then kind of get it across this gap, where we didn't hit the porch with the fireplace, but we got into the living room, got into place. This thing was super friggin' heavy. I was not as big and strong as I am now, so it was pretty rough. And just, various decorations in the living room area here. From the living room, you basically walked straight from the front door in, you hit the hallway there. To the left was my room, on the left. The end of this hallway was my sister's room, and then on the right end of this hallway was the bathroom. It was a little... it was the only bathroom in the house, which, a house of 4 people, that can get a little tedious and strenuous. But then to the right of where we walked into the hallway is the kitchen. General kitchen stuff. They had a really small dishwasher, which wasn't always there. I remember when we put that in. And there was always a little bit of a kitchen configuration change that would happen. In the back, I guess you say back left corner as you enter the kitchen, there's a stairwell up to our second floor, which wasn't really a second floor. It was more or less... It was like an attic that we ended up turning into my parents' bedroom. But then right across from where you enter the kitchen was some steps down to a den that my dad had put on. It was actually in the I guess it was a development. In the neighborhood, everyone had a side porch. But way back before I was born, my dad and his dad turned that porch into a den. So we had an extra little room there. It was mostly where my dad would hang out with his TV. He had his fishing stuff, a desk, music stuff, because he plays guitar. But between the kitchen and the den, there was a stairs down to the basement, which just for my entire time I've been there was filled with just various junk, whether it was my sister and I's junk, parents' junk. It was just kind of junk. There was a little bit of play area. There's a laundry section. I wouldn't say a room, but it was mostly just junk down there. Now, that's pretty much the layout of the house since I was like 6. I mean, I lived there my entire life until I was 23. But before my sister came along, I stayed in the room that would have been her room in the future. Then she came along. It's like, oh, boy and girl can't sleep in the same bedroom, bunk bed, blah blah blah. So for like a couple years, I think, I slept on the couch in the living room because my parents were originally in the downstairs bedroom that would become my room before we finished the upstairs and turned that into their room. But yeah, my room was the living room, but not really. It was just I would sleep on the couch for a long friggin' time. That wasn't so hot, but it is what it is. But that would be pretty much the layout since I was about 6. And something else to note here, which this will come up later, was we had central air, but it was like central air from like the 70s, and I mean, I always thought it worked really well, but I guess it just was expensive to run because of the energy costs, so we did not run it all that often, and there were just so many nights where it was hot as shit. And I just had to sweat to death because that air was not coming on. It was not coming on. Those were some really hot days. Like, we always had baseboard heat and gas heat, so heat in the winter was never a problem. It was always in the summer. We ended up getting a bunch of window units, but that only just really froze certain sections of the house. But yeah, central air was always such a touchy thing for my family. But anyway, after I moved out, which was its own, that could be a whole video on its own. But after I moved out, I did get asked back by my dad to take down the wall that would separate the living room from what was my bedroom. Doing this would take out the wall that the TV was on that I mentioned earlier, and also the coat closet by the front door. So essentially it took out a coat closet and just took out that entire friggin' wall. And my parents jokingly call it the LDR because it's the Liam dining room, because that's kind of what my bedroom became once I moved out. They literally took out a bedroom, so now the house is, I think it's technically a 1-bedroom now. Because I don't think you can count the upstairs because there's not a door going into it. It's just kind of like a room with a closet in it. But it's not like separated by a door. I think they made their house from a 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom. That was probably not the best idea for a resale. But maybe they're not, I don't know, maybe they're not going to have a resale. But this was probably the first big change after I had left. I mean, aside from my sister then moving out a couple... was it like a year after I did, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, I remember cutting down that wall, which felt really weird because, like, you spend, what? Like almost 2 decades, I guess, living in this room, or at least sleeping in this room. I played a lot of video games in there and just, played with toys in general. This was like my childhood room. Going in there with, like, I guess, yeah, it was like a Sawzall, a reciprocating tool, and just tearing down this wall that was in there felt kind of weird. Because it felt like, I guess I can't expect the room to stay if it can be used for something else, but it felt like my place in that structure was no longer there, and I don't think it is anymore. It's all, like, the remnants of my existence at that house are gone. Even the paint scheme that I had in my room, which I thought was pretty neat. It was like an alligator green on the bottom, and how would I describe it? Just a different lighter green for the top, and it had like different angles to it. It had, I can't really describe it, but I always thought it was really cool. That's gone now, too, because you had to match the rest of the living room that this then became. So I've kind of been erased from my childhood home. And I'm still alive. And I'm only 31. That's kind of weird. It's actually really weird. But anyway, where the wall was, there was obviously a gap in the flooring because there was a wall there. There's not going to be any flooring under the wall. So unfortunately, my dad just kind of filled it in with something. I don't really remember what it is, but it doesn't look so hot. And I highly doubt it is ever going to get fixed because they obviously couldn't find any flooring for this house from the 90s that would match, so they'd have to redo the whole floor, and they're not going to do that. So I don't know, it's probably going to look really friggin' awkward for a long time now. But anyway, where this wall was, ended up putting a kind of like a dining room table leaning up against a section of wall that is still there. Which, that's the other thing. There's the archway that was the entrance to my room is still there. Like, the doorway is still there, and I think... No, the door's off, but the doorway is there, so it's odd. I don't know, it's so weird. But the fireplace I had mentioned earlier, the faux fireplace, has moved into there, along with some of my dad's plants, his guitars, some other... just a bunch of knickknacks, like family stuff. And... oops, I knocked over a weight. And... it's just, it hasn't been my room. It hasn't been my room for almost a decade now. It's kind of funny. Kind of sad. I don't know. Anyway, moving on to something else that was different is, remember the whole fiasco with Central Air, where it was basically like sweat to death for shits and giggles, which seems to have somehow eluded my parents' minds, that the air like barely ever fucking ran. But now that we've moved out, both my sister and I, they have new central air, which I helped them put in, helped them wire up, helped them run new ductwork for in the basement, helped them put the blower and move the actual furnace in the basement for, which feels kind of shitty that, yeah, I'm bigger than I was, so I can help do more, I guess. But that didn't really stop me from being involved in many major projects at my parents' house anyway. Like building their canopy. I was like fucking 10. 10, and I'm helping to build this canopy. I remember getting in trouble because I couldn't hold like a 12-foot fucking board. Sorry, I'm 10. And then we built our the deck on our above-ground pool, and that was a whole thing. God, there's so much shit that I did. Way too early. Way too young. There's a lot expected of me that was just unreasonable. But, yeah, now that it's just the two of them there, they get new central air. So, I don't know. Maybe it was the cost of us going to Catholic school was too much. I don't really know. But really, what all that did, that lack of central air, was just ensure that every house that I would ever live at in the future, this one included, and then the one that my wife and I recently got that we're moving into, definitely having central air. Fuck window units. Fuck split systems. Fuck no air. No, central air. And so far, since I'm not planning on moving again after this new house, I've succeeded in that goal. Central air forever. But, yeah. That other change was the new central air, no more window units, the wall coming down. What else really changed? Well, I guess most recently, going to my in-laws' house, one of my sets of in-laws' house for my birthday, which just so irrelevant. Like, my birthday being so irrelevant, it was just... I'm never a fan, every year. Worst day of the year. But my dad was talking to me about how they're finally moving out these old stoves they had in the basement. I think they had, like, literally 2 or 3 gas stoves down there. Which I never really understood why, but My dad told me at this party that it was so they could like bake outside or something. It was like so friggin' random. But now he's deciding to get rid of them. And also, over some time, he's been getting rid of more and more of the junk in the basement, getting rid of this old stuff, he's getting rid of like all this clutter and nonsense that was down there for like 2 decades. It's like, why couldn't we have had the extra space when I was there? I don't really get it. But yeah, I guess they're cleaning up more, changing the layout of the house, getting new air. But I think the other thing that kind of strikes me is how little has changed. Like, I thought I'd go into this video explaining all the things that have changed, but there's not a lot. I mean, they did cut down this huge Norway maple in the backyard. That was a big part of... I would climb around on that as a kid. Shit, I just got I've been completely erased from that house. There's... Aside from the things I helped build, it's like I was never there. Oh. Oh, that's weird. That's very weird. I didn't want that. I didn't want to think like that. But yeah, I guess that's another change, but the general layout of my parents' house is still pretty much the same. Like, the pool's still where it is, the garden back behind the pool, still a dump, the office attached to the garage way out back. It's probably still junk. I haven't been in there in a while, but that garage is definitely still full of garbage. So many vehicles. They have 2 people living at that house, and I think they have, my wife and I counted 8 vehicles. One of them being a Dodge Ram van that is as old as I am, and has not been... Was I the last one to drive that? God, that thing hasn't been driven in like a decade. Still fucking have it. Oi. My dad did redo some of the landscaping around the side of the house, so that was different. But there's just a lot of... The last time I was over there, I think it was to make sure their pool like wasn't getting clogged with stuff while they were away on vacation or something. And I was like, wow, this yard is just... The things in it are just as old, in the same spots, but just junkier, I guess? Yeah, it's almost... See, for as much as has changed in terms of, like, what I used to interact with no longer being there, the things that are there, it's just like a snapshot in time that just, like, aged 8, 9 years. It's almost like, it's like a Fallout scene, I guess you could say, where it's like you could see what was happening at the time the bombs fell, and things are just decayed over time. Now, it's obviously not 200 years, but yeah, 8 years, it's all pretty much looking the same. It's kind of funny. It's kind of weird. Like, huh. Even the den. Yeah, I think the only room in the house that is in the same situation, like kind of like snapshotted, is the kitchen. Like, I remember walking into the kitchen. It's like this. The second tile in on your left and up one, it's very specific, has been broken since I can remember, and it's still broken. So it's just weird how some things change and some things just don't. I mean, you know, to quote Tesla, time's making changes. But it seems like it's only making changes to some parts of my childhood home. Notably, the parts I was there for that aren't structures that I helped build. So it's kind of weird every time we go there for, like, Christmas or anything. I haven't been there in a while, actually, since we did Christmas at my sister's house this past year. So, I don't know. This is kind of like a weirdly bittersweet video. I didn't expect it to go this way because I looked at this topic and I'm like, how can I really talk about this all that much? But then when I actually think about it, I'm like, there's a lot more to this than I probably wanted there to be. I'm not saying everything I'm thinking, but I've said plenty. I don't know, it's been 20 minutes. Well, I'm curious. You guys who have moved out of your parents' house, hopefully, and come back to it years later or however long later, what have you noticed that's changed? Like, do you still feel like your presence is there in your parents' home? Have you never been back to your childhood home? Which is also very much a possibility. Like, my older daughter will never be back to this house. I highly doubt it in her entire lifetime. So I don't know how she's going to feel about that. But what have you guys noticed that's changed at your childhood home, if you have the opportunity to visit? I'd really like to know. I wonder if you have any kind of weird insights like I've had. You can feel free to write like a long-ass comment. I will read it, and I'll respond to it, because who reads their YouTube comments and just says, fuck it, I'm going to ignore that? That's rude as shit. Anyway, thank you to Zaintor. You are always my loyal Patreon patron, at least until you get tired of me. But yeah, I guess that's it for this Doodle Chat. Hopefully, if I can manage it, given the move and all, come back tonight around 10 Eastern Standard Time, and I should be playing some Helldivers on stream if you guys want to watch. But if not, then I guess I'll see you Sunday for my regular video, or next week for another Doodle Chat if these are the only videos you like. Thank you very much. I hope you have a fantastic weekend coming up, and I will see you later.